And that's when I laminated my test. Oh, hey, everybody. Welcome to Cinematic Suffering.
Hey, I pasted mine to my inner thigh. How are y'all
I
doing tonight?
hope everyone's having had a great weekend. We're releasing this probably on Tuesday, August 1st.
Yep, that's when it comes out. When upon the recording of this, R.I.P. Pee Wee Herman. We just found out
Yep.
that the passing of the great Pee Wee Herman, one of the if you are a Gen Xer, he was a big part of your childhood and a big part of your adolescence.
Yeah. He was I remember watching him as a kid on when he was on Saturday morning, with the Pee Wee's Playhouse, and it's
Yeah,
being entranced with it. I'm not really entranced. I would watch it. I'm not gonna say I was like fully engaged in
no,
the children's television show, but I would watch it and I'd have fun with it. And of course, when he started doing more like off kilter roles that weren't really, when he was in Cheech and Chong.
yeah, he was
Yeah.
he was in the movie Blow, wasn't he?
Oh, I think so. Yeah, he was.
Yes, selling
And
selling that yayo, and
then he was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie. I remember when that came out. That was like one of the real first times I was like,
yeah,
that's fucking
I
Pee Wee Herman.
that's Pee Wee. So yeah, R.I.P. Mr. Rubens, you'll be missed.
Rest in peace, indeed. Well, Clay, we the bits and chunks. If you don't know by now, is just something where Clay and I get together and we just talk about random shit, that we may have seen over the weekend or over the week or whatever. We're talking about movies, horror movies specifically, and yeah, we're still working on our death metal write up. So stay tuned for that. That is coming along well.
Very
And
excited.
but we figure get another episode of bits and chunks out there and not leave the masses of you waiting for content. So
That's right. That's right. Because people get surly when we don't put out regular content.
regular hate mail, even from all of our sponsors, they say, "Hey, you're supposed to have at least 2 episodes a week," and we would get back to them. Thank you for paying us thousands of dollars for your sponsorship, but we go on. We marched our own drummer.
That's right. That's right. I'm just waiting for the inquiry from, and I'm not going to say their name because they're not getting freebies from us, but the folks that advertise the shavers for your balls. I'm just waiting on
Mhm.
that
Yeah.
call. It seems like they have their tendrils in every other podcast. Why not us?
Well, guys, I guess let's go kick it off here then about what we've seen recently. Now, I'll start off because you had suggested a couple of films to me, and one of them was the movie Influencer that is streaming
Yeah,
on Shudder, right?
yeah, that was one that has come up multiple times in various, best films to watch on Shudder. My various YouTube searches that I go on, those rabbit holes, and influencers come up a couple times. Pardon me. It At a glance, if I was just to watch the trailer, I wouldn't think that it looks like something that would necessarily be down my alley,
Right.
or something that I would be necessarily be that interested in. But I gave it a shot and I really loved it. So
Yeah, and let me start off here real quick that we'll be talking about spoilers. So if anyone hasn't seen these movies, I would highly recommend seeing them and then coming back. Or if you haven't and you don't care, then you're gonna hear some spoilers. But yeah, I went off that recommendation for Influencer, and I thought it was gonna be like one of those typical, there is like kind of a slew of thriller horror, I guess, movies that are set within the social media realm of influencer kids trying to on social media, and it leads to whatever debacle that they're in. And but I trust your I trust your judgment, and I'm like, okay, let's go with influence with an open mind. And knowing that and not knowing what I was going to watch, I think it flipped the script on its head. It did
it
a
really did.
180 where I thought, holy shit, this just got real. And there's a so we're started off. We're not gonna go and deep dive these movies, but this is a movie where you think it's about this one influencer that starts off, and then uh I guess I won't spoil it too much. It just she gets her world turned on her head by a person that she meets in Thailand on one of her travels, and from there it's just this weird, wild ride of backstabbing, identity theft.
Yeah. Like it's just it's identity theft and just yeah, it goes in these it zigs when you think it's going to zag. It was really surprising.
And I thought it had a pretty good, satisfying ending too. It wasn't one of those things where okay, it was all good up to this point, and then the ending is kind of flat. I
Yeah.
thought it ended well, and it was a satisfying ending, well deserved. I think if we know what we're talking about, the way we're talking about the antagonist that is in the movie,
Yeah.
it was a well
Yeah.
deserved end.
Yeah, I loved it. You know, it looked beautiful for one thing. It was shot in Thailand, and it's one of those movies that you know, like we're both creeping into middle age now, and it's one of those movies that looks at a glance, like if you're just going to look at it on a surface level, like watch the trailer or whatever, it looks like it's going to be one of these movies that just makes you feel alienated and old, like, oh god, it's about some you know, at a glance, yeah, just phone up, like just can't live a moment of her life without her phone, without her face in the frame and putting
Right.
herself into this. Instead of just living life, she's got to be, you know, this social media presence. And you know, oddly, what I loved about the movie is you think that it's going to be about that, but it's
Yeah.
not. It's kind of it just kind of turns into this completely different narrative, and it keeps you guessing. It's one of those movies that kind of undermines your expectations without it being completely irritating. It wasn't one of
Right.
these movies where it's just like, let's kill off the protagonist because that's so original and unexpected. They don't
Right.
go there with it, but you don't really see it coming. Like I at one point in the movie, and I can't even remember what my, um, you know, I turned to my partner and I was like, "This is what's going to happen. This is going to be the thing. This is going
Yeah.
to be the twist." And it wasn't, and that was kind of refreshing that they, you know, kind of like, you know, usurped your expectation by not doing the obvious thing. So that
Yeah.
was definitely a recommendation.
Yeah, definitely recommend. We also get the now I haven't seen this actor before, Cassandra Naud, Naud, but
Yeah.
she played the antagonist in the film, and boy, she did a fantastic
Oh,
goddamn job. And
she was great, and I may be wrong about this, but I believe that she actually that birthmark is really there.
yeah,
That's not.
it's an actual birthmark. She has a birthmark on her face, and at first you're like, when I first saw it, I was like, is this like just a makeup effect, or did they just add this for, I don't know, flavor or something? But no, the she actually does have, and despite its weird appearance, it's still not off-putting at all. She shines right through it.
But yeah, that was another small kind of smart thing that the movie did was that they don't address it. It's not like you totally expect the scene where somebody's looking at it and then she's like, "What are you looking at?" Like you can almost write that
Right.
scene in your head, and they didn't do it.
Yeah.
They just didn't go there, and it was it kind of speaks a lot to the just kind of the wittiness and kind of the fresh take of the director, which was Curtis David Harder. So
Yeah.
looking forward to checking out more work by that director and see what else they come up with.
Yeah, yeah, I'm definitely Curtis David Harder. I'm wondering if he was the boyfriend also in that in the movie. I don't
It's
know.
possible. I didn't do too much of a deep dive into this one.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't. Okay. Okay, yeah, so that's Influencer. Highly recommended by both of us. If you haven't seen it, it's streaming on Shudder at the moment.
That's right. That's right.
Let's see. Well, what do we have next on what's on your list?
One that you recommended, right? It's kind of weird these kind of you know, coincidences that pop up in life.
Yeah.
Our good friend Tony Salvaggio was gracious enough to guest star an episode or two back of Bits and Chunks, and he recommended Brooklyn 45 was one of the many movies on his list of recommendations, and then but right before we recorded this episode you recommended it also.
Yeah.
So I checked that one out this just last night actually. So it's still pretty fresh in my memory, just to get an idea, you know, of what it was about. It was 2023 is when it debuted, so it's a pretty new movie. It's a supernatural thriller directed by Ted Gagan, is how his name's pronounced. I had to look that up.
Yeah.
It's starring Anne Ramsey, Ronnie Rames, Jeremy Holm, Larry Fesselblin, Ezra Buzzington, and other people. It's got a it's
Now this
interesting
isn't
movie.
this isn't the same Anne Ramsey that was in The Goonies as Ma Fratelli. This is a different Anne
No.
Ramsey, by the way. So we
Yeah, she'd be a much older lady by now.
yeah. Well, yeah, and she also passed away in like 89 or 90. Yeah, I had to look it up because I saw the name Anne Ramsey come up on the credits, and I was like, that sounds really familiar. And then when I looked it up, the first name pops up is Ma Fratelli from the Goonies. So
Well, maybe I dropped you on your head once, maybe twice.
but
God,
yeah,
only in hindsight do we realize how fucked up the Goonies was.
right. we should definitely do a whole episode on that one.
Mm,
But
gladly.
Brooklyn 4-5, yeah, I recommended it, and it's there's some things I felt were flawed about it, of course,
Me
but
too.
I think I recommended it before I got to the end of the movie. I think by that point I was like, I was engaged in what was happening and the mystery that that was surrounding what was the events that were going on. I know I'm being very general, but I guess we can go a little bit detail. There's um the yeah,
Post World War II.
right. Post World War II, friends get together who are in the war in significant positions of power, and the the colonel who's there, the main guy who gets them to the house, he wants to perform a séance because his wife just killed herself. He wants to know if there's anything out there. He's lost his faith in any kind of religion or that there's anything out there. So he wants to have this séance, and he thinks he can do it. And his friends just kind of scoff at him, and what we're seeing is just pretty much it's almost like a teleplay. It's where it's very enclosed location. There's only like six people in the movie, maybe five,
Six.
including
It's the yeah, the colonel, the interrogator, her husband, the other dude, the other dude, the other dude. Six, and then
yes,
seven if you count the
the German
the
lady.
German lady. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and it was one of those things. I also one thing I credited for it was because the cast is older, so it's not a cast full of a young Gen Xers. I say young I mean Gen Xers and up. This is
Right.
these are older actors that really carry themselves. Anne Ramsey is amazing. She just does a great job as the interrogator, and her husband Bob, the guy who plays him, is just really good. At,
They were all
you know,
good in their
yeah,
way.
yeah. So I mean, but what was your opinion?
I'm interested to talk to you about it. I liked it as I liked it. When you said that it had its flawed, I thought that the middle section kind of felt like a labor. To be honest with you, it was
Yeah,
the whole teleplay quality. That's one of the first things that I noticed about it was that it felt like it was intended to be a play, and
yeah,
then it was almost like it was written to be either a play or a movie, or it was like intentionally close set,
yeah,
very acty. And it had that stage play kind of presence where the actors are really projecting. I felt like its reach exceeded its grasp
yeah,
conceptually. If that's a very pretentious way to say that that it was trying a little bit harder than it could achieve. The actors were all great. There's no
yeah.
disrespect to any of them, but it was almost like the movie wanted to be better than it had the ability to be. It was a
Right.
little bit. Um, it was a little bit of a labor to get through in certain spots, but
Yeah.
what it did right, it did right enough to where I could still recommend it. It's like we talk about this a lot on this podcast. That horror movies kind of come with a certain amount of grace that you give them.
Yeah.
Like they're not going to hold up to, um, kind of like very serious, mainstream thrillers, the ones that get like Oscar consideration
Right.
or anything like that. You can't.
Yeah. I think also when I first saw that, because I was debating whether to watch this several times over as I've seen it cross my path at various moments when I'm just searching for stuff. And the thing is the theatrical poster or the thumbnail that they use for the movie. It's I don't think it represents what the
No.
movie is. It looks like a comedy. It looks like a horror comedy from the way it's presented, and that's what I originally thought it was going to be. Have some humor in it. It's going to be this weird horror comedy. It had high ratings. I was like, let's give it a try, and of course, it just takes you on a different path. It's a
Yeah.
super serious movie where these about mental health and moral quandaries and questions that come up to play throughout your life and in war. And it was very talking heads. I don't know if that's a correct term for what we
No,
saw.
it's. I think that
Yeah,
that encompasses it.
yeah, uh, and yeah, you're right. It just I remember, like I said, I recommended it to you, but I think I was like halfway through it, and I hadn't really watched the rest. I was, oh, probably should check out Brooklyn 4-5, but I think I would have still recommended it to you anyways. But it did start falling off for me near the end, especially because one of the major plot points is the next door neighbor was the German lady who's and her family next door spying for the Nazis during the war, and the wife of the guy who killed herself, the wife of this colonel, killed herself because no one believed her. No one believed that all the accusations she made to this German family that was living next door to her were being ignored. It was hinted at that maybe this German lady even murdered the wife, by cutting her wrist to make it look like a suicide. But all of that didn't really play that well. By the end, I
No.
was just like, uh, questions weren't really answered. Bob comes out of his shell as some kind of just starts shooting people just to get the hell out of there. I mean, you have to see what I'm talking about. Just I'm not going to explain the
Yeah.
entire movie, but if you see it, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the way it resolves itself is a little bit sudden, and it was a movie I had to, I kind of liked it a little bit more having had a day or so to kind of think back on it. We watched it last night actually, so it
Yeah.
hadn't even been a full 24 hours. What kind of bugged me about it turned out to be what I kind of ended up liking about it, if that makes sense. Like
Okay.
initially I was like, okay, so ghosts, like you have this whole idea about the afterlife. When you die, do you gain some kind of clarity?
Right.
In the context of movies, it's like any kind of supernatural horror movie kind of operates on the assumption that there's an afterlife and that we kind of go on in some ethereal way.
Right.
And it's like, okay, so in the context of this movie, so you carry all of your bigotry and your hatred and your nationalism and all these ugly things, you carry that with you into the afterlife. And that kind of bugged me a little bit. But then I realized, well, maybe what the movie is trying to say is that war is this toxic force that does that to people, and it affects
Yeah.
them so badly that they can't even let that go after death. So I kind of appreciate it a little bit more, but it was, I don't want to say it's tough to recommend, but I think that if you appreciate horror and if you appreciate, like some character actors that probably haven't gotten the recognition that they deserve, it's a fun little movie. You can do
Yeah.
worse.
Yeah, you could definitely do worse. There's if you're a history buff, you'll appreciate some of the history uh, annotations they dropped throughout the film regarding World War II and what was happening at that time after the war. Um, yeah, I guess it's the analogy of not being able to let go. It's the double edged sword of the colonel couldn't let go of his dead wife, and the characters couldn't let go of their past in the war because of the things that they did. So it was all about letting go and faith. And so yeah, I mean, it can be a thinker if you really want it to be, or it can be a stinker if you're just bored with it. So
Yeah, like if you there's some definitely some ghoulish moments in it, but if you're a gore hound, it's probably not your movie. But I do have a recommendation if you are a gore hound. So,
okay, yeah, what is that?
which I don't know how much you want to go into this one because you haven't had a chance to see it yet. But
Okay.
I've been geeking out about this movie since I discovered it, and I can't believe that that it hadn't been on my radar until now. But somebody sent me a trailer for this 2011 Italian gore film called Adam Chaplin, and I've
Oh,
been
that's right.
freaking over the moon with it. I haven't had a chance to try it out yet, but I got the DVD
Oh,
today. It
rad.
just came today, and it's. I watched it online on one of these questionable sites that's trying to give you malware, so don't do that. But yeah, 2011, directed by Manuel DeSanti and Guilo DeSanti, which can't be a coincidence that they have the same last name. And it's starring Emmanuel DeSanti, who you can tell spends about 8 days a week in the gym, pumping iron,
Right.
waxing. And it's just, if you love stuff like the anime, like Fist of the North Star, and just gonzo bananas crazy shit like think Manborg or what's another one, Turbo Kid, stuff like that, but with zero irony. There's
Right.
no winking at the camera. It's just it's kind of like it's a 15-year-old metalhead sketchbook made into a movie. It's just
Yeah.
this bleak noir, hyper gory. There's a real kind of bare bones revenge plot, but it's just a vehicle for this dude punching people's heads off and then they explode. It's so cathartic, it's so gory, and it's so much fun. I just
Yeah.
loved it.
You sent me the theatrical trailer, and you didn't even explain what it was. You just kind of sent the theatrical trailer, and I was like, "Oh, is this like maybe a suggestion for the show or something?" So I watched it, expecting to see something, like really cheesy, and it was cheesy. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah, it is.
the theatrical trailer. I think I came back to you right after I watched it. I said, "We gotta watch this," and
Yeah.
I then you told me your story of how you kept trying to track it down. You had to get like a VPN and get on these these BitTorrent kind of like places to try to
Yeah.
pirate it, which we don't recommend, guys. He
Uh-huh.
did Clay did buy the DVD. He does have the DVD, so
Yeah.
it's legit. But I'm not willing to risk my computer for that. So I think maybe I'll try to get a copy of that DVD, or maybe if you can rip a copy for me and upload it to Dropbox. By the way, no one's pirating, guys. No pirating. It's just between
No,
us.
what we're actually going to do is I'll watch it and then I'll gift Jason a copy that has been legally bought.
Okay, yeah.
I it's so like I'm curious to see how this thing plays because I bought it off of all places Walmart's website. I
Wow.
figured if it's all jacked up and it's some effed up bootleg, Walmart's going to give me my money back. So they
Yeah.
don't care. I brought
Yeah,
back
yeah.
2 year old items to Walmart. So,
No,
but
yeah.
like funnily enough, like when I was watching this, it had some uncanny parallels to, and if you're listening to this, you won't be able to see it, but Luther Strode is one of my favorite graphic novels, and it's uncannily close to this. I don't know if the creator of Luther Strode was influenced by this, or it just happens to be one of those coincidences that
Yeah.
great minds think alike. If you like graphic novels and you like hyper gory martial arts, kind of like you know uh, Fist of the North Star inspired people getting their head knocked off with a punch, check out Luther Strode.
Yeah. I definitely I need to watch this movie. It's imperative because, like I said, that one weekend after you showed it to me, I was looking everywhere for it, and
Mm-hmm.
I did see it in DVD form, and I was like, well, maybe I'll just wait because I'm not sure if I don't even think I don't have an active DVD player. I have to hook something up, and that would require work for me, and I don't want to do any work. So
I don't. Yeah, it's like I mean, we live in a time where like an actual physical media player is kind of like some old person shit that you don't want to mess
it is,
with.
and yeah, so that's on the list for sure. Once I can
Yeah, I
get
can't
things.
wait until I'm looking forward to seeing what you think of it. I'm one of these weirdos that like when I saw Tokyo Gore Police, I couldn't stop talking about it.
Oh
So
yeah.
if you're my kind of weirdo, if you've got more Gore shirts than you need, if like if you've seen Manborg and everything else that Astron Six has pumped out, you'll like Adam Chaplin.
Cool. Well, let's go to one that we both seen. The one
Absolutely.
another one that you recommended to me was the Irish slash English production called Unwelcome.
Ah, yes, yes, Unwelcome. So, directed by John Wright, written by Mark Stay and John Wright, and it stars Hannah John Kamen, Douglas Booth and Colm Meaney, which they're leaving out the main people that we need to talk about that are in this movie. That's
Okay.
it's a friggin' smorgasbord um, of character actors.
Right.
Amongst them, most notably, is going to be Christian Nairn, who played Hodor,
Yeah, in Game of
and
Thrones.
right, and Colm Meaney, who we all recognize from the Star Trek shows. He was Engineer O'Brien.
Yeah, yeah, and he's been a bunch of other stuff too. I can't remember off the top of my head, but
Oh yeah, he's a great actor. But it was
he was instantly recognizable when I saw him. I was like, "Oh yeah, I know who this guy is,"
yeah.
and of course Christian too. But um, this was one of those movies that it started off because well, one of your comments to me was just like, I just wanted to. You're the husband of our protagonist, I guess you would call him a protagonist too, was just irritatingly horrible. And I didn't get that sense from the beginning and up until maybe the middle part, maybe close to the somewhere in act 2 of the
Mhm.
story. And then I started getting pissed at him. So we're not talking about the actor himself. We're just talking about the performance and what was written for him. It was irritating. He turned into this. You think he turn into like a more tough guy as things go on, and he turns into a blubbering mass of like impotent flesh just blubbering on the ground.
Well, and I kind of wonder what the filmmaker's intention was with that character, like to make him so contemptibly easy to bully. Like our very first introduction to the character is that your very first introduction to him is that he's a little bit too on. He's a little bit too energized and too excited. It starts off like I started off wanting to hate the movie because it's like we're pregnant. Yippee is one of those things. I
Yeah.
hate that shit.
Well, yeah, he was consistently overly positive about everything. I don't know why we're disparaging a fictional husband and wife who seem to have a delightful relationship, and they've been trying to get pregnant, and and turns out she is pregnant, and there's joy all around for everyone,
Yes.
and so we have the catalyst for them moving out of the city and moving into this country estate where the husband's aunt had died and I guess left him this property in Ireland.
Yeah. And that was kind of like strike two for me. Strike one was that he got bullied. Okay, actually, it was almost strike three within a very short amount of time because, like, oh, he's annoying, and then they're all happy because we're pregnant. It's just like, okay, we're to I in horror movie bingo, and he goes to the liquor store, and a couple of hooligans are messing with him, and for some reason that kind of shit is so triggering for me. I don't know if I want to, just part of me wants to go out and get revenge on every bully that's ever messed with me in school, but it was just like I just felt rage bubbling in my blood when I saw that happen. And the guy was such a friggin' idiot. Like, he just takes it, and then when he has the chance to just walk home, they're letting him go, he turns around and talks shit. And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
they invade the home and beat the shit out of everybody. And he's just an intolerable pussy. He's just contemptible.
Yeah, I mean, even though he got the shit beat out of him in the house, he's watching his wife get kicked in the stomach after she just announced she was pregnant, and I'm like, come on, you got to do something, dude. You got to get up.
I know, quit being so bitch made, please. But well,
But
and then go ahead, man. Go
no,
ahead.
no, no, you go, please.
Oh, but like the very next scene, then what do we get? Oh, we're off to the country to go get our cottage that was bequeathed to us by the aunt off screen. I was just like, I hate that fucking premise, man. I mean, it's the setup to every supernatural horror movie that they did in the 70s. It's just
Yeah, the old house that's inherited, and it's a common trope throughout horror films, and we're just met once they move out. They think, oh, we'll be safer out in the countryside, and we find out they're not safer out in the countryside than they were in the city, because in the countryside there are just as many geeks and freaks ready to do harm to you as well, and the thing that was really aggravating was when they got this this family to come and help repair the roof or and uh,
Oh
redo
my
their
god.
kitchen, renovate their kitchen, and as soon as all that shit started happening, the first thing they started when they started like mouthing off and being disrespectful to the home, or not to say that they just broke in to start working. Remember, they didn't even
Yeah.
knock, they didn't even
No.
call. I'd be like, "Nope, get the fuck out. No, we're done. We're done. Leave. I'll
Out.
find someone else. I'll pay extra for someone to come out of the county and come in to this place and fix it." Because all the behaviors of this family and the way they all this husband and his wife just ate shit. They just consistently ate their shit.
Oh god damn, it
And
was annoying.
yeah, and I was just they just kept eating shit from this contractor and their family and his family that it really became it angered me too. I was getting angry.
Yeah.
It's like, "You gotta do something. You can't just sit here and wait for something to happen," and that's exactly what happened. Something
Yeah.
they
What was it about this movie that was like, because you can, on one hand you can chastise it for being just kind of contrived, boilerplate, just run of the mill, but it was also just like enraging, like god damn, just stand up for yourself. It was just yeah, it just made you mad as hell that all these people were so rude to our protagonist, who, like, the biggest downfall of this movie is that I didn't like any of the, well, okay, I take that back. I liked some of the performances. I like some of the actors. I didn't like
Yeah,
any of the characters. I love some of the actors. Some of them
yeah.
are just kind of like, um, wild side note here is that they need to start letting Christian Nairn speak a little bit more. I mean, he can't be
Right?
Hodor forever.
Oh my god, dude! I was when it there he just played a like this dumb character. I mean, I'm not saying I'm meaning dumb in like a deaf and dumb character. I don't know if that's even
Yeah,
politically correct to say anymore, but
I
he
think
was
he'll be
playing
fine.
he was playing the same goddamn character that he played in Game of Thrones, where they weren't giving him any speaking lines. He was getting his ass kicked by everyone around him, and then when he finally talks, it turns out that he's just as big as asshole as his fucking family is.
Yeah, he's friggin' Chester the molester over here. When
Yeah,
you know, but and what's frustrating about that is that the guy's a musician. He's a learned man, and he's a good actor, and he's articulate, and he's got like a pleasant speaking voice. Like,
yeah.
let him have some fucking lines, for
Yeah.
Christ's sake.
Yeah, I don't know what they're thinking with that I haven't seen anything else really with him in it. Maybe I have, I just can't remember, but that popped in my head too when I first saw him, and I thought, "Oh, they're gonna do something different with Christian. He'll have a speaking part now." And then when he didn't speak, I was like, "Fuck me. Okay."
Yeah,
Uh,
well, I mean, well, and basically, it's Cole Meany's movie. He eats scenery like Pac-Man in this thing.
yeah.
He just chews it up, dude.
One of my favorite things he kept saying was just, "Call me daddy."
He
Where it's
insists that people call him daddy. Like,
yeah.
no, man, what are you?
But I will say, like, the one of the better things that were in this movie were the red caps, the little people.
Yeah,
What
which we've spent all this time talking about this movie. It's like, oh, by the way, the
oh, by
only
the way,
reason to watch it is because there's monsters in it that are really awesome.
yeah, yeah, so, yeah, we've been just bitching and shitting on this thing, but, there are really cool monsters. It's definitely a creature feature, for anyone who likes that kinda stuff, and, what they did, they call them red caps. They're making fun of the leprechaun myth just a little bit. They call them the Fur Derig or something like that, and
They're basically the Fae. They're the
yeah,
wee folk of the forest, kind
yeah.
of nonsense.
And it was cool to see how I didn't look at any kind of behind the scenes on how they did these little people and how they animated them, whether it was pure CGI or if they had little people dress up or forced perspective, what was going on. But I thought they did an excellent job
Oh,
with the
it was
makeup
it.
effects.
It immediately brought back memories of what's the film that I'm trying to, the Gate.
Oh yeah, the gate, yeah, Steven Dorff.
Yeah, The Gate. That was another one of those movies that I remember having kind of the same reaction to it as a kid. I'd probably be a lot more critical of it now.
Yeah,
I
and there was
haven't
a lot of
seen it
stop
in years.
motion animation when it came to the little demon monsters in that one.
Yeah, but I recall as a kid, I was maybe early teens when I saw that movie. When the monsters show up, I was really impressed. The movie kind of redeemed itself, and Unfollow had the same impact on me. It redeemed itself somewhat when
Yeah.
when the monsters show up. We almost bring up the monsters as a footnote, so the annoying characters are definitely front and center. But it was and it's weird, dude. I don't know if this is your takeaway from it, but as much as I'm bitching about it, yeah, see it. It was fun,
Yeah,
like.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, people get aggravated, there's some scenes that'll anger you, just like that, and I think that was meant to be. It's supposed to, I don't know, it's supposed to elicit some kinda reaction, and it definitely got that reaction from us, but, I'm not sure if that's the reaction the filmmaker wanted, but hell, maybe it was, that these people were just weak ass, city folk that are trying to live out in the country, to get escape from city life. I did enjoy Hannah's performance as Maya in the movie.
Yeah.
She's supposed to be pregnant this whole time. She's being more of a trooper than her wimpy ass husband.
Oh,
And she's running. She got kicked in the stomach. Still could give birth, or still could get pregnant, and traipsing through the woods, and handling situations with aplomb. And meanwhile, the husband is just put on the back burner. Yeah, yeah. You're kind of hoping for the little people just to grab him up too, but
yeah,
that's
take
not what
him.
happened.
Take him. I think that they want the kid. No, take him. Take him.
Yeah,
He's
we'll
like,
exchange him.
yeah, I know. He's be much better to have him. But yeah, like I don't want to speak for the filmmaker, but I imagine the dialogue would be like, "Well, did you enjoy it?" And I'd say, "Yeah, I did. I had a good
Yeah,
time." I mean, it may be it kind of got under my skin, but
yeah. Whether that, like I said, whether that was the intent, with the characters, but yeah, overall, I say hell yeah, give it a watch. You'll be glad to see the characters that deserve their comeuppance get their comeuppance,
yeah.
and you'll be angry that the character that you should think get a comeuppance never got his comeuppance.
So to kind of sum it up, Influencer and Brooklyn 45, which you can see both of those on Shudder. I believe you can see Unfollow on Shudder also. Do you recall offhand?
Unwelcome, you mean?
Unwelcome. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Unwelcome.
yeah, yeah. Well, Unwelcome's on Shutter as well.
So Shudder, we expect our dividends, and Adam Chaplin, good luck. I
Yeah,
don't even know if this DVD is going to play correctly. I haven't put it in my PlayStation yet. I'm afraid to, but I'm
just
going to.
infects your PlayStation with its own virus from a hard copy of Adam
Yeah,
Chaplin.
like all I can do is just watch just loops of Adam Chaplin just punching people's heads off. But if you can get a copy of that and you like insane gonzo shit like that, check that out or go on YouTube, check out the trailer,
Yeah,
So
definitely check out that trailer. All right, guys. Until next time, this is Cinematic Suffering. I'm Jason.
I'm Clay.
We'll
Peace.
talk to you later. Bye.
Rah.